Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger. My friends, this is the big patch video guide to Guilty Gear Strive version 2.0, also Guilty Gear Strive season 5. So, real quick, hey, we're going to do the usual thing, timestamps, all that kind of stuff, right? Before you skip ahead, I really got to say this. This is a fundamentally gigantic patch where a lot of the universal changes will wildly change how a lot of the cast works. Since a lot of changes are universal, I will not mention most of them in the character-specific sections because this affects everybody across the board. So before you go to whatever character section you want to go to, please check the universal stuff first because this is a rebranding of the game. This ain't no tiny +1, -1 frame patch or whatever. There's some big changes. So, that said, yes, there will be timestamps. Skip forward to whatever character that interests you. Leave a like for timestamps for what is assuredly to be a very long video. And just make sure you check the basic stuff first because so many characters have big changes. The changes come from the basic universal changes. That said, though, there's still lots of big character-specific changes as well. There's a lot of new moves, like Nagoriyuki has a crazy new move. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about everybody. So the thing here, this is an honest-to-God back-to-basics patch. Some other fighting games say they're back to basics. We'll see about that. But this one's really back to basics here. So a lot of the nonsense that's accumulated over the years, especially in terms of offensive power, is getting curtailed or cut flat out. And we'll talk about it. So that said here, let's talk about some of the universal changes, and there's a lot of them. I'll timestamp these as well. And then we'll get to the character-specific stuff. So, for universal changes, one of those big changes, hey, remember Wild Assault? Sort of a big deal, really changed how the game played, right? Some might argue for the worst, but yeah, that's gone. That don't exist no more. So, goodbye Wild Assault. It don't work no more. You can do the command all you want. That move is completely removed from the game. We do have something to replace it, though. We have the Counter Blitz. So what is the Counter Blitz? Well, hey, Guilty Gear's a little famous for a thing called Counter, right? You get the big hits, you get Counter. And Counter Blitz only works on counter attacks. And all you do with it is, when you have a counter connect, hit forward and dust. Not even quarter circle forward. Forward and dust. You'll use the old Wild Assault animation, so the animations are, reused, they're not lost, right? And you'll get a bunch of follow-up hits. So the thing about that is, Counter Blitz, on top of just basically just giving you a combo in and of itself, can also wall break. And it's tension free. It does not use your tension meter, just uses your burst, just like Wild Assault used to. So if you get a quick hit in with a counter, well, then you can convert it. And the thing is, a lot of times you might get a counter and you might be in a weird position that you can't get much of a follow-up. Well, if you use, footsies, use neutral, use buttons, and you get a longer range counter, this can be a guaranteed follow-up no matter what in situations where other characters, depending character to character, might not be able to get much. And this works on like regular counters as well. It's not just the big heavy slash counters, although it won't work on lights. So punch or kick doesn't work. It has to be slash or heavy slash. It has to be your bigger buttons. But basically, it's a new way to convert off counter hits. Certainly won't be as strong as Wild Assault, and that's by design. Wild Assault was too strong and sort of ran the game too well, and now we have a bit more toned down universal move. Again, that's sort of what this patch is toning things down a bit. So that's our new mechanic. Goodbye Wild Assault, hello Counter Blitz. It'll take a while to see how good it actually is. It'll probably be character to character how useful, but hey, it's cool, it's new. So another big change to the game is changing how hitboxes and hurtboxes work. So for the hurtboxes, the part where you hit the enemy, there's been a sort of unification in a lot of the non-standard size characters. So now there's basically normal characters and large characters. And large characters are Potemkin, Faust, Nagoriyuki, Goldlewis, and Bedman. So before, everyone sort of had their own unique boxes, and that can lead to a lot of character-specific combos, like this combo only works on this character. And the idea being that while we'll still have that for normal and large characters, it won't be so many case specific, this character only combo. So maybe there might be combos that work on larger characters that'll be more universal, but not only works on Faust, does not work on anybody else. And on hitboxes, the part of the attack that actually connects with the enemy, right? So it's been changed that a lot of attacks have a follow-up hitbox, meaning that it has a hitbox change only in the middle of a combo, making more combo routes more universal, less prone to drop. Basically, the part that can hit the enemy will be bigger if it's part of a combo. That's going to be character to character, move to move. Again, I'll link the patch notes in the video description if you want to check it out for your character specifically. There's going to be a lot of little situations about that. It's mostly to stabilize combos. Another change though, universal, is close slash. So close slash will have that expanded hit combo in the middle of a combo, but a lot of close slashes will have their hitboxes changed that it'll be smaller outside of that. They deemed that a lot of close slashes were simply too good as anti-airs, and thus, not gonna say it's impossible to anti-air with a close slash as long as you time it correctly, but it certainly won't be as easy and won't necessarily match the hitbox, because again, they want to tone down relative power of the game. So this is kind of a universal change, because they deemed the reward off a close slash anti-air was far, far, far too high for what it was. Another big fundamental change to the game is they changed how purple Roman cancel works. That's where you cancel a move out into Roman cancel, right? So basically, if you purple Roman cancel someone and hit him with a move, and that's the beginning of the move or the combo, that will now scale heavily. So we like dramatic examples here. So Potemkin Buster by itself, hey, normally does a good amount of damage, right? But now, if I get off the purple Roman cancel, oh, that's a lot less, right? So now anything off purple Roman cancel, only purple, not red where you already hit, or blue when you're just in neutral, right? Has to be specifically purple, just because they want to nerf the situation where you basically messed up, you whiff something big, you canceled in the purple Roman cancel, and then you could still get the hit and you could still get the reward. Because like, you did a big whiff, okay, you did the big whiff, get the move afterwards, and then you still got the gigantic reward, like you're kind of rewarded for failure, right? A lot of situations like that in the game where you're rewarded for failure or get to get out of just making a bad decision are being nerfed. This doesn't affect mid combo. If you're already hitting the enemy with like whatever and you hit him with a purple Roman cancel afterwards, doesn't affect that. Only affects the first move, basically the combo starter. So basically you will still get a reward, but you just won't get as big of a reward from the purple Roman cancel, just because they don't want to reward failure as much. Keeping on the last trend, not wanting to reward failure. So throws, command grabs. If you whiff these, you can no longer Roman cancel out of them. Command grabs and regular throws. The idea being, if you whiffed, suffer the consequences of your action. Here we are in the older build of the game and say we whiff a button. Like we whiff the throw, right? Like, oh well, I can Roman cancel out, get a purple Roman cancel, right? Just like we talked about last time. Do that, and then potentially get the big reward. So I could screw up, get the Roman cancel, and then get a massive reward, right? So that's why purple Roman cancel in the last section has been nerfed. That's why you can no longer just Roman cancel your recovery on command grabs or on throws, because they want you to eat a penalty for messing up. You know, Roman cancel is still pretty handy in a variety of ways, but get out of jail free card for like actively screwing up. They really want to tone that down now. So throws, command grabs, no more get out of jail free with Roman cancel. Also, command grabs are no longer throw invincible by themselves. So if you're in a bad situation, you're going to get thrown, then command grab is not necessarily a get out of jail free card in and of itself either. And we'll just stick with the characters for the next section because another Roman cancel change. You are not allowed to Roman cancel an invincible overdrive. Your invincible supers, if you whiff, this is the older build of the game. If you whiff, oh no, whiff, boom, purple RC, right? So again, like we mentioned before, this is another situation where you could potentially screw up purple RC out of it and still get the reward, right? In the current build of the game now, If you whiff your Invincible Overdrive, ain't happening. You have to whiff it and get blown up. You cannot Roman cancel out of your mistake anymore. And when it comes to just invincible moves in general, they have changed invincible moves for a lot of them that you will not anymore at all get any kind of pressure after them. So you'll knock them down, you got them off you. That's the reward for the invincible move, is you got them off you, but that's all the reward you're gonna get. This is kind of a universal change across the cast. A lot of them have also had their numbers changed on block or on hit, just so they're more punishable or just less advantage. Again, if you nail the invincible reversal, that's the reward. That's all the reward you're going to get. You also don't get a favorable knockdown, the pressure, and all that kind of stuff. So invincible moves are just nerfed across the board. No more get out of jail free on invincible Roman canceled moves for supers. They changed it a while ago that you couldn't Roman cancel out of a regular invincible move anyways. And so this is just kind of bringing everything in line. Invincible moves are pretty strong. It's better to have one than the not, let me tell you, across every fighting game ever made. So just be thankful that if your character has one, it got nerfed, that sucks, but at least you have one, because a lot of characters don't. More nerfs, more shenanigans being curtailed. So backdash, everyone in Guilty Gear Strive, their backdash is actual full invulnerable. The amount of invulnerability changes character to character, but it's actually invulnerable, right? And one of the things you can do is blue Roman cancel out of it. So you can use those invulnerability frames, perhaps catch someone in the blue Roman cancel, then punish them on the other end, right? So better than risking yourself doing a wake up. And of course, there's also some tricks like backdash BRC overheads and all that. So here's the thing. No more backdash Roman cancel. No more anything invincible Roman cancel is basically the rule of the game now. So you got a deal, basically. And all the other shenanigans associated with it are also gone. So they just want anything with invincibility and Roman cancel sort of out of the game. Again, back to basics. Less nonsense. Yes, okay, your character might have had tech with this. Maybe they got rid of it, sure. But this is across the board. This is Daisuke's vision, if you will. So it's another kind of nerf to the game mechanics. Okay, another change to this core game rules affects everybody. So when you do something that spends meter, like you do an overdrive super, right? For the next little bit, you'll get just less tension, less super meter, because that's how it is. It's only a little bit, then it goes back to normal. However, say you did your overdrive and you got a wall break. Then you would get the positive bonus, and then you get tons of meter. Now, the thing is, positive bonus doesn't immediately overwrite the penalty you would get before. So basically, after a wall break, you get a lot less meter than previously, leading to less snowball situations. Because before, you'd get almost all your meter back from being in the positive bonus for spinning the meter. So now you gotta think about it just a little bit more. Okay, now this is an important one. All sorts of damage nerfs across the board. You're gonna be wondering, hey, how come my combo of XYZ with XYZ character is not doing as much damage? This is gonna be the reason why. If your move is a lunging move, as in it moves forward really fast. If your move is like a low profile move in that it can go underneath other moves. If it's a projectile that starts the combo. If it's as simple as just stand punch. So many examples. It's gonna prorate harder, meaning the combo is gonna do less overall damage. Let's look at something as basic as jab, jab, chemical love, right? So jab, jab, chemical love here in the current build of the game does 50 damage. Here we are back on the older build, jab, jab, chemical love, 61 damage. It does more damage because scaling changed. How about stroke the big tree into like stand, close slash into chemical love? In the older build, that does 95 damage. Here we are back in the current build, and wouldn't you know it, okay, that does 83 damage. Why? Because Stroke the Big Tree is a low profiling move, and low profiling moves now are subject to additional combo scaling. So to toss out some math for you here, if the move is a lunging attack, as in it goes forward, far, and fast, it now scales 70% now from 80% originally, so it scales 10% more damage-wise. If it's a low profiling move that can start a combo, like say maze, down forward kick, So some are considered more egregious than others. So May's down forward kick, Jacko's sweep, Baiken's crouching heavy slash, they originally would scale from 90%, now start scaling at 60%, so you're going to do a lot less damage. Other stronger, lower profiling moves, we already showed Ino here, like Kai, Stun Dipper as well. So these originally scaled at 80%, they'll now start scaling at 60%. So another big nerf to damage. We talked about punch, just basic jab, right? So anything that starts with a jab now starts at 60% damage scaling, used to start at 80%. So all jab combos are going to do a lot less damage. Anything that starts with a fireball, anything that starts with an overhead is going to do less damage. Even the humble counter is going to do less damage. Current build of the game, Kai heavy slash counter, 51 damage. Back on the older build of the game, 56 damage. You used to get a little bit of bonus damage just for hitting a counter in and of itself. That bonus damage is gone. Same thing with like if you had them at full risk, because they just want damage lowered across the board. I still think it's going to be a fairly high damage game in the end, but damage is getting toned down just in every conceivable way you can think about it. More big changes? How about this? The fastest move in the game is now 5 frames. So there was definitely some haves and have-nots in terms of who had a fastest move, and now everyone's fastest move is 5 frames. It's pretty much always going to be like crouch kick or punch or stand punch or kick. One of them changes character to character, right? But yeah, it's a lot more universal now. So some characters could terrorize characters just based off the numbers, because frame data is a cruel mistress. But now universal across the board, fastest move is 5 frames. So that's going to change a lot of the frame data for a lot of the characters in this video. I'm not necessarily going to mention every single one, because it'll be like, hey, this move used to be 4 frames, now 5 frames. If a kick was 5 frames, maybe it's now 6 frames. So generally speaking, all the quicker moves of the game are just getting slowed down just a little bit to make things more fair for the cast, just kind of across the board, because there was haves and have-nots. And that is a lot of the major changes in the game. There's a lot, as you can see here. Not even every single thing, because there's a lot of like micro changes don't necessarily bear getting into here. The patch notes will be linked in the video description. And that said, if you got here but you skipped the rest, go back, because a lot of what I said affects the entire cast. And a lot of cast has patch notes talking directly about those changes. And I'm not going to repeat myself for every single character, like, oh, this moves 1 frame slower because the 5 frame change, or like this got a damage proration, because everything's getting damage prorations and damage nerfs. Because again, the universal changes affect the entire cast. Now, that said, let's get into the cast themselves here, because besides the universal changes, which are numerous, there's definitely a lot of interesting just changes in general, you know. Some people got nerfs you could argue are very fair. You know, like old Pot, you know, I'm never going to throw a big boy under the bus, but he was pretty okay, right? Some people got nerfs that are nonsensical. But there's also fun things like, hey, did certain people get new moves that maybe they didn't need? And, well, there's a lot of adventures to go to. So let's now get to the cast itself. So, Soul. He's subject to universal changes just like everybody, but he's got some interesting stuff that's kind of just for him. One is Gunflame. So Gunflame, it's a lot further away now. They actually gave it a whole nother pillar of fire. So you can see here from roughly this distance, it connects. In the older build of the game, it would very assuredly whiff at that range. So that's a nice little buff. Also, the startup is faster than it used to be before, so it just makes it a bit more valuable as a projectile. Each projectile has a little bit less active frames, like the pillars themselves, but it means it gets where it's going faster. So basically, you can use it as a mid-screen option much more effectively. Great, perfect even. It's a slightly more negative on block to make up for it, but oh, don't do it point blank. Don't do it point blank. But yeah, so basically, much better. Great. On the Gunflame note, so Gunflame Feint now actually moves him forward just a little bit. Remains to be seen the main use for this, but say you did like, I don't know, quick punch into Gunflame Feint. It'll put you in command grab range, right? So like, if it's a blink and they miss it situation, you can just guerrilla your way in and then grab them and, well, don't ever blink. So that just gives his throw, his command grab a bit more viable threat, because now you can just kind of do basic strings and do the feint and still be directly on top of them after the pushback and dunk them. Cool. Now here's a nerf, Fafnir. So one, the enemy techs now when it's done. It's not a hard knockdown anymore, right? As soon as they touch the ground, they will tech. And also, in certain combos, he used to be able to wall bounce you. So you're looking at the older build of the game right now, and before, doing certain combos, you can get the clean hit, and it would be a wall bounce, and you could just keep the combo going. And now, no more clean hit property, no more wall bounce, ever. So definitely a change to his combo routing. Now, don't doom and gloom it, though. We got new stuff to work with here. So Heavy Volcanic Viper now has a new follow-up. It has Sidewinder Ignited. So that's this big bad boy, and that does wall bounce. Although you're going to have to kind of be in the corner, right? If you're a little further out, or at least not near the wall, that is, then you don't get the wall bounce. So, hey, cool move. You do have to delay it, by the way. If you do it right away, depending on your angles, depending on how you're going, you can actually make it whiff. But yeah, just another Dragon Punch motion, and you do cool gunshot with your sword. So just like the Fafnir, though, it does have a clean hit property. So if you kind of miss the correct window for it, you don't get the wall bounce. If you have the sweet spot, then you do get the wall bounce. So timing is everything. So long-term combo routing benefits, you know, I'll leave to you. You figure it out. But hey, new move, new wall bounce, new combos. Old Freddy here. He's surviving into the new era, and he got some new tricks. Now Kai. Kai got a new move. That's the main change he got. Although he did get a bit of a nerf here. I guess they deemed stand slash and crouch slash a little strong. These are moves that have definitely been buffed a lot over the years. So the main part of the moves are, well, they're the same, but basically on whiff and on block. So on whiff, stand slash, and crouching slash both have 4 more frames of recovery. Meaning if you whiff the move, there's just slightly more chance the opponent may be able to counter poke you back. And both are also just that much more worse on block as well. So now stand slash is -9 and crouch slash is -12. They used to be -5 and -8 respectively. Otherwise, still a great poke, still great range, still great everything. The boy controls the mid screen really well. And speaking on that note, that's kind of the other big change. So he has a new move. When he has a projectile on screen, just, you know, either the slash version, heavy slash version, doesn't matter. Just hit quarter circle back and punch. Now, by itself, it doesn't do anything. You do need a projectile on screen. And what happens is you'll now get a vertical hitbox, lightning pillar that will detonate the projectile wherever it may be. And yes, just to skip ahead here, well, what if I hit the enemy? Well, don't worry. Oh, now you got a 2-hit combo. So at bare minimum, you're getting just literally more damage off your projectile game now. Like, you can get all 3 hits of the big projectile and still detonate it after the fact. So what this matters is this. Since you can do it instantly, as you can see here, I can toss it, not get anywhere near the opponent, and detonate it, right? That means you can't just jump and dash over this stuff so freely anymore. Because now, if that's the plan, whoops, that plan don't work so good no more. Like, yeah, you got over the physical projectile, but now since he covers the vertical part of the screen as well, and as far as I can tell in my testing, this goes all the way to the top of the screen. Like, there is no part of the skybox this doesn't hit, right? So jumping over the fireball, you know, the Street Fighter 2 logic. I'm jump over the fireball, hit you on the other end. That don't work so good no more. If he smells you're going anywhere near this stuff, he can just detonate this at will. So maybe the poke's got a little tiny nerf, but he got a whole new aspect of neutral control that's pretty sizable and pretty big, not the least of which, again, if this stuff connects, he just literally gets more damage. You can turn the basic shot into a 2-hit combo, the heavy shot into a 4-hit combo. So more damage, more neutral control. Yeah, he might not have a ton of changes, but I think this will definitely work out to his favor. So going to May, so again, lots of universal changes affect her. I'm not going to go into everything, although one, charge time is shorter now, so any charge move is 25 frames, not 30. That's nice. Down forward kick as a party starter is not as good as it used to be because it now scales combos a lot more than it used to, though, just to mention. But some of the big stuff, Mr. Dolphin, specifically the more just horizontal one, the slash version. Now the effect is really different. So here you're looking at the old version of the game. Notice how far away she is on hit. Now, in the current build of the game, oh, she's a good deal closer now, isn't she? Also, she has more frame advantage now as well. If this connects, she's +3 and enough range to threaten a punch or something, right? And if you're passive, maybe walk forward, throw you. Back to the matter now is you do something, Mr. Dolphin, you get more pressure if it connects, right? So that's really good. Heavy Mr. Dolphin, same deal. You're a lot closer. You still have a big advantage. You can still link stand kick afterwards, but you're just closer. So if you got more tricks or shenanigans up your sleeve, you can now do them. Like Kai, some of the bigger normals, specifically stand heavy slash, has a bit more recovery. And by a bit, I mean a lot, actually. So it used to have 15 frames of recovery, now has 23 frames of recovery. And concordantly is much more negative on block. -12 now, used to be -4. For, say, the vertical Mr. Dolphin, slash version specifically, it can now hit from further away. So they changed the part where you can, like, alter the distances if you hold punch. So now just slash Mr. Dolphin, the vertical version that is, just hits from further away. So you can try stuff like crouch slash into it, although it's not a natural combo, but it will connect versus it whiffing before, so that's something, I suppose. Basically, the universal changes are what affects her the most. Just the fact that slash Mr. Dolphin now leaves you a lot closer with advantage on hit means you effectively get actual pressure after the fact, making it more useful, and the universal changes kind of carry everything else. So we have Axl. Axl's a little everywhere, good and bad, maybe. Stuff like 6K. This guy, remember how it got buffed to like launch super high? You know, like, hopefully I'm showing the older footage here. Yeah, it don't launch super high no more. And like, old combos very specifically do not work. And some other combos like, say, Sickle Flash, they'll tumble, like it'll still connect, but like, it is different, right? Now, here's a good little change. Let me blow your mind. Hey, the unblockable is blockable now. What? So, yeah, how's it go forward? Heavy slash here. This guy is a guard crush. It's very advantage if it does get blocked, but it is blockable now. So this is now a low instead of an unblockable. So that's certainly a change. That said, it's not all bad, because now we have new combo potential that we did not have before. So it actually works in combos in ways it didn't before. And you can still get the big throw, by the way. They're the cinematic anyways, if you connect regularly. But yeah, certainly different. So combo ability, yes. Unblockable, no longer. But then again, being plus a billion in front of their face can lead to a lot more damage than the base throw ever could as well, right? So we'll see where that goes. Remember the tornado? That was a move that got added later in the game's life. So the move has like almost half as many active frames. It does not stay there as long as it used to, but also the projectile itself is a good deal faster. So here it is, the older version of the game. And you can see here, yeah, it's out there longer, but doesn't quite move as fast versus the new current version of the move. Moves a good deal quicker than before. So I guess we'll see where that goes. Speaking of things changing up here, Sickle Flash. So, you know, the big poke, you know, ideally should be one of your main things, but, you know, they thought maybe people aren't using as much as they would like. So now it's got a lot better recovery. It recovers 6 frames faster, making it even like literally point blank -13. And from any range other than literally point blank, way less negative. Recovers faster, better on whip, like just kind of better all around. It means you can use it more often, recover quicker. And if you're in a situation where it gets blocked, most of the time now, it really shouldn't matter if it gets blocked or not, unless you're just being a little silly with it. But yeah, it just being quicker, I think that's a very good quality of life change. Now here's another interesting change. Forward heavy slash is now a good deal faster. Used to be 27 frames, is now 23 frames. Okay, what's the catch? The catch is it's no longer an overhead. What? So this is a mid now. So you can block this crouching. Rest assured, you could not before. But with that in mind, it's easier on the combo scaling if you can somehow start a combo with it. So that's nice. Much the same here on the second half of the active frame. So when you're trying to hit in like the later active frames to get a combo starter with a counter hit or whatever, and now pushes them back less, so they're closer to you. So ideally, it's just that much easier to get the good stuff in, I guess. Interesting change. Since the attack is faster, it does leave you airborne that much quicker, so you can do it, then like do purple Roman cancel, and then use it to get like instant overheads, I guess. I don't know. Considering, you know, this is not an overhead normally anymore. It's one way to brute force the overhead, I guess, but I don't know. The changes are definitely interesting. Going to Chipp. So again, universal change, but I feel for him it's warranted to bring it up. The 5-frame change. So his stand punch is now 5 frames. Used to be 4 frames. Considering the relative range it had compared to some of the other characters, you know, it's a nerf, but again, this is everybody now. All the fastest attacks are 5 frames. He's not exempt just because he's Mr. Speedy Ninja. Some other things, like he can't cancel Crouch S into Heavy Slash anymore, which on whiff that is, so I feel that's more like a bug fix. A lot of damage changes on Tightrope and for Wall Run, so it's sort of outside the universal changes, but I feel it's just because they're unique and it's to tone those down in line with everything else. And now let's get into the fun stuff. So Alpha Blade been changed up a bit in that it starts up about 8 frames faster than it did before. Yes, that is right, faster. So that means now it's a natural combo from stand Heavy Slash before you need like a counter hit. Now it just actually works. Okay, not bad. Also, it now naturally can like 2-in-1 combo into the diagonal Alpha Blade as well. So you can get some new interesting routes going on here. So one of the really fun things about the Alpha Blades going into each other is it works on airborne versions too. So the horizontal one can go into the aerial diagonal one downwards. So as like a B&B combo, you could go something like close slash, crouch slash to launch, and well, and there you go. Now, obviously, you might lose the corner depending on where you are on the screen, but more options are more options. Now, just so you know, the combo version of the diagonal Alpha Blade's a little bit different. You know, it doesn't have that delayed hit, right? Because, well, it combos, but still, that's interesting. That's more combo routing. That's more potential damage than you may have had otherwise before. And it does leave you in a position to be a little bit tricky after the fact as well. So play around with it. The only other thing to note is Tightrope. So Tightrope, I guess they figured it was a little bit too annoying for what it was. So one, just a recovery of the move, like you just tossing out the Tightrope itself, now has 7 more frames of recovery. So it used to be 37 frames of recovery, and it's now 44. And from there, it also just doesn't last as long. So it's not short, but used to be out for 360 frames. Now it's out for 270 frames. So it's a pretty decent nerf to the duration of the Tightrope. So other than that, a bunch of damage nerfs just for Tightrope and Wall Run. And we got new combo routings, new things with Alpha Blades that were not possible before. Now, poor Potemkin. Who'd he ever hurt? Looks like the devs may have had it out for him. So I'll give you the one thing. His forward walk speed is definitely better. Like, this is Sonic the Hedgehog compared to what it used to be. The idea being he's kind of going to be worse at everything, but at least you can just do the old walk forward and block your way in a little bit better. Exciting. Goes to show the old adage of you let a grappler be decent for a bit and everyone cries their eyes out. But anyways, let's get to the nerfs. 1. Heavy Slash now just knocks down. What? Like, normally knockdowns are pretty okay, but not the knockdown that literally forces the opponent full screen and makes you start having to do the old trudge to him all over again. Nerf buff, forward, Heavy Slash, big ol' punch. Now actually moves him forward a little bit, although it does less damage, but gotta take that forward movement where we can get it now. Potemkin Buster no longer has the armor frames. I know that was very contentious when that got added, but like, Yeah, so that's gone. And also the nerf to command grabs. In general, command grabs are no longer immune to regular throws. That's not Potemkin specific, although it does hurt him more than most, to say the least. So the days of Potemkin Buster as like a defensive option are definitely getting curtailed a bit. They're being reined back just a little bit. Hammerfall, old reliable. Technically a little better with the buff that charge moves don't need to charge as long, 25 frames versus 30. One little issue is that it no longer can armor lows anymore. So it still has armor, but it will always lose to anything that's a true low. So you really got to watch out for that. Same thing with Hammerfall Break because it keeps the armor. Hammerfall Break also cannot armor through lows anymore. It'll just lose. So gotta watch out. Flick that back. The reflect. So when the opponent is hit by the reflect explosion, they now auto tech when they hit the ground. So once again, just making it more difficult for Potemkin to work his way in. Which once again, fair enough. He does have the walk speed buff, so there is that. You know what would really help that walk speed buff? Okay, well, how about Gigantor Kai? Okay, well, if we're going to abuse that walk speed, how about we have a big shield to walk behind, right? Whoops. So they changed how this works pretty drastically. So here we are in the old build of the game again, and hey, that walk speed is definitely a lot slower, right? So, like, not the sugarcoat like all the nerfs or whatever, like, but the walk speed definitely a buff, because this is the old walk and new walk's a lot better. But Gigantor Kai, again, with that new walk speed, it'd be great if we had the old one. Oh, nice and slow, walk behind it, and like, you know, get him to really sweat, right? Don't work that way. So they made the projectile like fast, basically, like much faster, and it also lasts 25% as long. They cut the overall active frames of it down by like 4. It used to be 465 active frames. Now it's not even 2 seconds. It's 105 frames. So they came at this move with a hammer. Now technically, with the new walk speed buff, you can indeed walk behind it like before and kind of keep in step. There is that. But the real threat was like being able to own the screen for such a long amount of time. And now you get under 2 seconds. Like you can sort of walk your way in, but like the terror of like constantly micro decisions and all that kind of stuff every step of the way, you don't get to do that no more. So is Potemkin still viable? I'd say yeah, sure. Like it's my job to be like the one guy who doesn't doomer everything, right? So like, do they hurt? Yeah, the walk speed buff's pretty friggin' real, right? Like if you played him the traditional way, that's huge. That's huge. And as for the other nerfs, it's not like he's the only character getting nerfed. Like the system is nerfing a lot of the characters. So if you relied on like gimmicks and all this stuff to get in, well, it'll hurt gimmicky Potemkins. If you were always here with like the big boy DNA with you, I think you'll find a way to survive. It stings, but walking forward like twice as fast as you did before, that's pretty okay. So for Faust, a bunch of interesting changes. One, his wacky movement. Everyone knows his wacky movement, right? So his wacky movement forwards, same as it's ever been, in that he can like kind of low profile a lot of moves. Wacky movement down back though, the hurt box is basically the same as a normal character. So you can't down back and crouch block and still avoid like half the moves in the game. You still can if you crouch forward, down forward, but not if you down back. So a very conscious decision that just playing it the safest possible won't work against a lot of the characters anymore. Old Tornado, mix. So a new interesting change is if you hit slash again after any amount of hits connect, it just stops the move dead. For the mix, a big deal of that is because you can now end it early. You know, if they're stuck on the wall, before you'd have to like do all the hits, break them on the wall. Maybe you don't want to do that. So now for whatever combo, the amount of wall pressure you want, since you can end it whenever you want, that you're comfortable with, now up to you. For items, some very interesting changes. Many items like donut, banana, afro, trumpet can now be acquired before they touch the ground. So if you know what you're tossing, you can do it here and pick it up before it comes anywhere near for the enemy to get, right? You know, some of these items tend to launch a little closer to you than the enemy. And now, especially say for trumpet, you can launch trumpet and like pick it up midair before it can land and actually get it. You know, not have the enemy use it against you. So For a lot of these, the fact that you can like pick them up early, especially stuff like Donut or whatever that heals, and Donut now also gives you more meter too, by the way. That's actually really nice. Like, you know, the item toss ideally should be in your favor most of the time anyways. So this just makes it all the more so. Other things for items like Afro State. So Afro State now, if Afro hits again before it's over, will refresh the duration of Afro State. So if you're looking to stack Afros, you know, that's the thing you can do now. So that's interesting. So other interesting changes here. Bone Crushing Excitement now starts up faster, 15 frames versus 21. No more Roman cancels, all that kind of stuff, like, you know, universal changes, but it's faster. That's nice. And also Super Item Toss now recovers 6 frames faster. So 27 used to be 33 frames. Also, you can hold the button here and store one of the items as well, which is one of the mechanics that was added in an earlier patch. So just the supers are getting better. So interesting changes for Faust. So Millia's got a host of interesting changes, not the least of which is the humble stand kick now pushes back way less. So here you are looking at the older build of the game, and like I dash forward, you know, a little bit of momentum, do kicks, and you see I get pushed out, right? And now in the current build of the game, like I can get a lot more. I can actually get 4 kicks and still have time to go into crouch dust, the sweep, right? I would be wildly pushed out in a lot of these scenarios before. So if you just want to keep mash and kick, it literally will just work. That's kind of great. Also pretty great is Bad Moon's been changed up to allow for new combo routing. It's got to be high up in the air. It's got to hit at very specific angles. But just to give you an example here, older build of the game, I would do a combo something like this, and I would go for a Bad Moon, and it would connect, but it'll like, they'll just roll out at the end, right? So like that's the final hit. Now you can actually keep the combo going in that exact same scenario. So notice there, they didn't tech roll at the end. And now since they didn't tech roll right at the end, oh, what? We can scoop them up off the ground? And rest assured, shenanigans can ensue from that, right? So all new combo routing, all new potential, that's pretty dang cool. So besides that, she is subject to a lot of universal changes, so I don't want to belabor those. We have top, S-top/top. The projectile is quite a bit quicker. So I guess the idea is maybe they want you to use it neutral a little bit more. Other big change is Artemis. That's the move they added a little bit ago. That was not there at launch. So I guess they didn't want you to be able to slop it out as much. So basically, when you land, you have more landing recovery. But, you know, just before you can like control your character again, you have more landing recovery. And they also made it more negative on block. So you can see in here now, it'll be -8. Depending on the character to character, might be a little difficult to punish. It used to be -2 before. So it was impossible to punish before. You could just kind of do it. It does bounce a bit higher now just because of the additional landing frames. It'll still give you time to be able to get a conversion if you get the hit. But yeah, so if you get this blocked, you have now definitely more definitively lost your turn. Besides that, Lust Shaker does a bit more damage. Numbers are a little bit better on block, but it mainly seems new combo routing is a big deal. Stand kick a lot more important. Bad Moon just giving you all new opportunities that makes you easily go corner to corner into wall break. So interesting changes for Millia. So Zato. So Zato's full of a lot of quality of life changes and a lot of Eddie damage nerfs. The damage nerfs are in line with kind of everyone losing damage, so I wouldn't stress that too much. But quality of life, hey, Eddie Float, remember how that got added? Notice it doesn't drain meter anymore. So you can just kind of have Eddie ready and you're good to go. Also, the trajectories of Eddie when you have him in the float have now all kind of been changed and made better. So it's just easier to kind of get him behind the enemy and do his thing, right? So just for planting Eddie and setting him up, It's literally that much easier. Like, oh, that kick now just sends him, launches him across the screen. Like, it's guaranteed you'll get Eddie behind the opponent. Want good quality of life too? Hey, Invite Hell, classic move, right? Notice how that hits. What? Normally, if you're near the corner, Invite Hell would miss. It would go off screen, and that's all she wrote. So now, if they're in the corner and you're near the corner, your move won't miss. Only took, God, how many years has this game been out now? Only took however many years it's been for this move to work in the corner. Also, adding a little bit of Street Fighter 2 classicness here, crouch slash Invite Hell is now a natural combo. So the old crouch medium kick Hadouken is now a thing for Eddie. And I just called him Eddie. I started playing during the X2 days. He's still Eddie to me. That's how I started. I didn't know Zato till way later. But yeah, like literally the most basic fundamental fighting game play of like quick poke into fireball. It's a combo now. Who could have thought? The other big change, which is a bit of nerf, but you know, in the spirit of making the game a bit more fair, right? So sword is no longer plus on block. You're now -2. So it's not punishable or anything. But basically the idea now is if they want to challenge your shadow, you want to challenge Eddie, they can challenge Eddie unless you do it and then like immediately go for oppose right away. At which point then you can bop them, right? So before it was +2 on block, now it's -2. But yeah, besides that, they're going out of their way to make float a lot more useful in that it doesn't drain your meter until you actually toss them out. They're making Invite Hell just more nice, more better. It works in the corner now, gives you this easy guaranteed pokes. You don't need counter hit now. So Zato's all over the place. Every patch we'll see, but looks cool on paper. Now, Ramlethal. It's always an issue of what they want Ramlethal to be, and here's the new version. So, before everything else, hey, remember this guy? The big old slam? Well, you notice it might do a little bit less damage. Well, there's a reason for that. Because it naturally combos, no gimmicks, no setup, no nothing, just off heavy slash. So, if you want Footsie's God Ramlethal, this is Footsie's God Ramlethal. You can just tap out, like, slash, heavy slash, hit confirm, sure, boom. Cortical back, heavy slash, now natural combo, all the time. So if you're looking for a back to basics, right? If you're looking for back to basics, this is a back to basics buff. Because now you just go for your gigantic normals, hit confirm, just slam to the ground. Now, some of the other changes. So, slash, sword toss, blip. Just splats them now. Another rework for the move. So here's how this goes. So the move itself is faster, 5 frames faster. That's pretty fast. And you can see here, you know, still it hits from a good deals away. And it's also a hard knockdown. So no bounce now, no whatever, hard knockdown. They also delayed the explosion of the sword. So the idea is you do it, you splat them, and you pressure them, and then they got to eat whatever the mix is going to be. Sword tosses keep getting reworks, and this is the latest revision of this rework. More positive buffs, more back to basics buffs. Crouch, dust, sweep. So if you're just looking, you know, for like, you know, basic hit confirm, blah, 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 it was always so negative. It was -8. Like, this gets you punished. Now it's -4. Now, because the fastest move is 5 frames, you can't be punished. So it makes your basic hit confirms, along with like this very new powerful hit confirm, just all the better yet. Although that said, Daro now doesn't quite launch as high, so your rewards are potentially not as big. Daro not launching as high, and sword toss slash not bouncing anymore. Their explanation is she got too much corner carry too easily, too fast, so welcome to the new Ram. More back to basics. Ondo! That's cortical forward kick. That was a new move that was added a while back. So it's faster startup, 1 frame faster startup, and is also less negative on block. So just more incentivized to use it in neutral, basically, because, you know, it's got some pretty monster range. Okay, but now we got to balance that out with another nerf. So the Rekka series. Rekka's changed up here. So the final hit, where you can kind of delay it, right? That used to be -2. That's now -8. So if you're doing the Rekka series, make sure to actually leave them guessing, I guess. Because if you commit and they block, you're done, I guess. Like, so another rework for Ramlethal. We'll see again next patch where she's like a puppet zoner or something. I don't know. She's just so different every time. Now Leo. We got some big boy gorilla buffs here, but we'll start off for one, he is a charge character, and so he has the universal charge buff. So now everything takes 25 frames to charge instead of 30. So it just lets you do your charge moves that much faster and better. And a big one is Turbulence. Now leaves the opponent much closer on block. So the idea before is you could just backdash out, right? Like, oh, whatever, block. And now that they're closer, you gotta think about it a bit more. It's not to say you can't make it safe, because you absolutely can. But now you gotta space it a little bit. All right, but now it's gorilla time. All right, back turn, right? Blah. What? Blah, blah, blah. He now has short hops off back turn stance. And you better believe, by the way, he gets big old monkey cross ups. Like, this is the most forgiving hitbox of all time, because, like, you barely got to aim at the cross up. And, yeah, also, okay, so blip, 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 big monkey jumps, right? So already, I don't have to hard sell you on why this is strong, right? Now, let me introduce you to this. A lot of his normals and back turn stance are now jump cancelable. So now you have to worry about blocking low and to immediately jump cancel, block cross up. What? Because Monkey Boy is going ape, as it turns out. So did he need this? That's for the courts to decide. I'm not here to argue that, but is this a new dynamic, interesting aspect of the character, which will make his mix very powerful? Yes, sirree. And of course, don't worry. Every time they block this, you are definitely plus on block. There's some other nerfs, like Stand Heavy Slash is a bit more negative on block. If you are in stance and you whiff your parry, the parry now has more frames of recovery, kind of in line with the defensive changes of if you do a defensive option and you whiff, you're going to get punished for your whiff, which is perfectly fair. It's in line with the rest of the cast. The big thing is, I guess, nerf-wise, besides being more negative on block, Stand Heavy Slash is attack level lower, so basically its hit stun is lowered, meaning it no longer is a natural combo into Turbulence. So if you want to get the back turn stance is definitely stronger than ever, but now it's just a little bit more difficult to get in there easily and often, given the natural combo is gone, and if they block it, you're closer and you might get punished, so now you gotta space it. But otherwise, Gorilla Boy's doing okay. Nagoriyuki's got some interesting changes. Remember when spin used to be a low? Man, we miss those days. I just wish I had another half screen low. Well, actually, we do, but we'll get to that in a second. So, when it comes to changes, the heavy slashes have changed up. One, heavy slash is like heavy slash. So, is now, when you're in level 2 blood, 16 frames. So, before, when you were in level 3 blood, it would be 16 frames. You know, make it no faster, better. Now it's also 16 frames at level 2 blood, which is great. And heavy slash, crouch heavy slash, forward heavy slash, they now all gain a lot more of your blood gauge back on block. So you're more incentivized just to kind of swing your big boy normals at the opponent as a way of blood management. Also, on that note, Blood-Sucking Universe, the command grab, now just removes a set amount of blood all at once. That's it, that's all. So they kind of reworked how it works. Does not work the own way. So just, you get what you get. It's all right away. There's no buff or whatever. It's just all at once. Also, the blood gauge values for level 2 and 3, his defensive values have changed. So now he's when at level 2 or 3, he'll take slightly less damage. Also more fun, close ass. Close ass, now jump cancelable. Okay. We can add a little bit more zazz to your offense at a minimum. But yeah, now, okay, we've been underselling the new move. So the new move, quarter circle back and slash, it is a low, must be blocked low. And you notice there's a bit of a look in them, right? There's a bit of a change. So even if you were at 0 blood, it automatically puts you at level 3. It doesn't matter. And the idea here is it locks you there, to the point. Even if you're gonna pop, it locks you. So whatever blood you're at that till it ends. And when it ends, then you might pop still. The idea is basically it pauses. So whatever blood gauge you build up during the time it's up, when it runs out, so we just did a bunch of teleports, right? When it's about to run out, it all did it, right? Conversely, if you do a bunch of stuff to help lower your blood gauge before it goes away, then when it goes away, it'll start lowering the blood gauge in an accordant amount. So it's basically a buy time mechanic. Okay, we hit pause on the blood, right? We hit pause. Now you have this much time, especially if you're about to pop, to hit the opponent enough, especially with your new, level 3 heavies with the new buff where they drain more blood on block, right? To help manage your blood. Also, to keep in mind, you can see like the darkness around his face, right? So after the buff is gone, it'll persist the darkness around his face, and you cannot do the move again until it's gone, because you'd basically be kind of perma level 3, which would be a little nuts. But yeah, so, another character that at various points of the game has ran the game, has gotten a lot of nerfs over time, I would say very fairly so. And now here's an all new move that's a powerful move in and of itself to help him just go crazy again. We'll see where that lands. Very interesting to say the least. So for Giovanna, not a lot of changes. Some interesting changes, like, hey, crouch slash, little toe taps. Now she moves forward, giving it a lot more effective range, right? So if you want to use it neutral, okay, well, it's literally that much easier. Sepultura. So they changed Sepultura now. So it's always safe on block no matter how badly you space the move. Okay, cool. But it also now knocks back less. So now, if you want to keep, not just getting locked down immediately, you really got to watch how you space it, basically. But yeah, since it's now -4, used to be -5, and now the fastest moves are 5 frames, that means effectively no more punishes ever. So slop it out, but still, because it pushes back less, spacing is more important than ever. Fighting games are interesting like that. But let's take our pal the Shrek install. You know how she gets more strong as she has more meter, right? So notice this. Okay, I'm burning my meter. I must lose my install. How come I'm still in my install? So her 50% buff, now we're at the 50% buff. Her 50% buff and 100% buff now stay a little bit after you leave the threshold. So she'll have that enhanced version just a little bit longer. So you get to be the best version of your character just a little bit longer, and thus maybe you don't have to be so scared of Roman cancel or super or whatever. So it's only a few seconds, but with the enhanced buffs you get, that could be the difference between winning and losing the match. So that's really strong quality of life. Besides that, like Sol Nascente, they up the hitbox against jumpers. I feel like this has happened every patch since the launch of the game, but they're scared to make this move just an actual anti-air, but I don't even know. We'll get this change again next patch, I'm sure. But yeah, so not too much for Giovanna, but I think she's always been in a pretty okay place, and these are all just to her benefit for the most part, so good stuff. For Anji, it's a bit of a rework. So some normal changes like crouch heavy slash, he now moves forward a good amount. And this got reworked a million years ago just to have like very different numbers. So this is a big bully button that moves forward. So there's that. But the big change is Fujin, the held version for heavy slash. So, you can do a bunch of follow-ups. You always do a bunch of follow-ups, right? But now they remove some of the things you can do, specifically cortical forward slash or kick. These follow-ups can no longer be done from heavy charge Fujin. In recompense for these changes, they've changed how some of the follow-up moves work. So like, say, the kick follow-up, the little short hop, right? So off the charge version here, it is now a good deal faster. It's like 5 or 6 frames faster than it used to be, making just hop into throw just that much more harder to see. That's cool. Slash follow-up, the low, is now completely safe on block. So it used to be punishable on block. Like if they guess correctly, you're going for the ride. Now, if you get blocked with a huge amount of pushback as well, oh well. So it's safer than before. And the fact that if it still connects, you can still get like some small follow-ups. So it's not a gigantic loss here. If you go for the overhead, it's safer. It's not safe. It's -7 now, but it used to be -9. So you might save yourself a bigger punish. Like you might only get like a punch punish compared to something else, depending on the character. It also now bounces the enemy just a little bit. So before it just kind of splat them. Now maybe some more combo routing is possible. There's also tons of like damage proration changes. That's kind of everyone across the board. So he's going to be doing less damage in a lot of scenarios, but again, that's sort of universal. The big takeaway is a lot of the moves off charge Heavy Fujin are a little bit better, especially like, you know, Hop being so much quicker, so much faster. But a lot of the gimmicks where you could go into other moves, those are done. So, you know, lots of changes to make her more fundamentally sound with a little bit less like gimmicks, especially on like the dive kick front. So like one of the things about dive kick is she no longer has the mechanic where she can like press the button again to get a little short hop and like cancel the move. That's straight up gone. You cannot do that anymore. So that's definitely a nerf. But stuff like heavy slash. Heavy slash has been changed. That's a frame faster. So it'll always combo now from like slash heavy slash as long as you're in range. So before, like that would connect, it connects here, but in the older build, it would only connect as a combo if it hit on the first frame. If it hit on the later active frames, it would not be a natural combo. Now, it's a natural combo no matter what, making it just way more valuable as like basic hit confirm tool and in neutral. Also, air dash. So forward air dash, back, it doesn't matter which air dash, right? But if you hold up or down, you now have ever so slight air control over the move, meaning you can just kind of inch upwards or downwards on anything you want to do. So if you're looking just to hit people a little higher up or a little further down, now you can. This is backdash as well. The influence is quite slight. Like I had to like really eyeball it to see if it was even happening to begin with, but like here's regular and here's upwards. You can see just that little bit of a curve, right? So up or down, you now have a little bit of control on your air dashes. Also, some blowbacks have been changed here for Chemical Love, Mad Love, Agitato, the new move. So like before, I could land and just like hit normals and that would combo. You can still get combos, but you got to settle for a little bit less. So like you'll still get a combo. It's still very plus on block. Don't worry about that. But you're not going to get as optimal of a combo as you did before, which fair enough. It was a pretty powerful move. A lot of hitbox, hurtbox adjustments just across the board for the whole cast. Forward heavy slash though, I want to kind of call this one out. So this one now is much safer on block. It's now always going to be -4 on block, meaning it's always going to be safe on block. So before it was a -8 on block, and depending on spacing, depending on the character, maybe something might happen. Now you can rest assured you're not getting blown up by like a random quick super or whatever just for getting your move blocked. So it makes it more valuable in that way. Also, Fortissimo, the super, is now always punishable on block. No random plus frames anymore. So you gotta deal with that. Again, one of the big changes is changing how supers work for across the cast, making things that have like any kind of defensive property no longer count. So, make sure that hits. Goldlewis is host to some interesting changes because everyone loves Goldlewis being buffed. So one, when it just comes like moving forward, running forward, right? Stand slash now has a little bit of momentum to it. Not a lot. Just by reading the patch notes, I was led to believe it'd be more than it was. But it does have at least a little bit of momentum to it now when off a run. The same with crouch kick. So this makes especially crouch kick, as it has way more active frames, more viable as an approach. So that's nice. Also nice, heavy slash is a good deal faster. How much faster? Well, it is now 14 frames startup. Used to be 19 frames. This means it naturally combos from far slash. Definitely did not before, opening up a lot more combo routing and damage opportunities. But it also has way more recovery. So if you're doing this, you better believe in it, because it's used to be -2, it's now -10. Now, if you're using it like you should, -10 at this distance shouldn't mean too much, but just buyer beware on that. So one thing, Behemoth Typhoon, all Behemoth Typhoons are doing less damage. So they all used to do 80, and they are now all doing 70, which honestly, like, fair enough. Okay. Like, it's a pretty okay move. So doing a little bit less damage is fine. Also, certain ones have had their knockback or just launch ability changed. Like, say, up to back to down Behemoth Typhoon. It says its launch has been changed in the second half of the active frames decreased. Although, in my admittedly, not exhaustive testing, you mostly get the same stuff. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. Now here's a pretty big nerf. Thunderbird. Thunderbird now has less active frames. So if you're security level 2, it now has 30 less active frames. It used to be 114, and now it's 74. If you're level 3, it used to be 174, and now goes to 134. So like, it's not like they're not out there for a hot minute, but it's not going to dominate the screen as long as it used to be. And Skyfish. So Skyfish has been changed where it now has to shoot a minimum amount of bullets. It used to be 3, now it's 12. So basically, idea is if you whiff, right? If you whiff, like you hit the button, you're like, oh no, he's going to be holding the gun for a lot longer than he was before, and thus you're that much more susceptible to being counterattacked any which way. So don't whiff, because now you're guaranteed to hold it for a minimum amount of time longer. And you know, some other changes like, hey, you know, like down with the system, can't roam and cancel on whiff. That's universal. You know, Invincible super change. Overall, you know, not huge changes for Goldlewis one way or the other. I think dash forward kick having a lot more momentum. I think that actually is kind of nice at bare minimum. And the rest is kind of in line with everyone else. Jacko, not a lot of changes because it always seems like they don't know what to do with her, but let's go over it. Forward heavy slash. That is the double hitting big chain and ball here, right? That's now a hard knockdown. So that's weird, but it's only a hard knockdown if they're grounded, not if they're airborne. But it means at bare minimum, say you got them in the corner, you can tap them because they're grounded, right? You can tap them, just kind of keep stuff going. That's interesting. It would take a real Jacko main to tell you how strong this could be because I am no Jacko main. But what I can tell you is this: Servant and Servant Toss. So just like for Zato, they changed some puppet stuff. So now if you toss the opponent or rather toss your puppet and hold the button, you now toss them at a completely different and way higher angle, which is pretty interesting. So obviously it's a lot harder to contest at a minimum because you can now easily just chuck it, you know, behind the enemy and have them safely behind the enemy to set up whatever shenanigans you want to set up. Like bare minimum, say you jump and toss with the new held version, right? They are not going to try to poke them out. Like, they are so high up off the screen, they're going to land behind the opponent. So if you just need to set them up and you need them behind the opponent, that is now an option versus, you know, before you just kind of had to deal with it, right? Now you can send them to the moon and off the screen. Now, one thing to know here for detonation. So if you detonate your puppet here and Jacko gets hit, the minions go away now. So that's definitely a bit of a nerf. But overall, my read is Jacko is kind of mostly the same as she's been. She's for a very specific audience, and if you know more than me, and I'm sure you do if you played her at all, please tell me in the comments below what I'm missing. Thank you very much. Hey kid, you want to see a dead body? So Happy Chaos, perhaps the most hated character of all of fighting games of like the last 10 years. He may have finally got what's coming to him. I say this, I'm going to go through a whole whack of nerfs. And 2 weeks from now, he's still going to be the best character in the game because that's just what he does. Because that's why people hate him, but let's go through it. So one, before we get to some doom and gloom, hey, Crouch S, got a buff. It's now much better on block. It's only -7 on block now, it used to be -13. So, okay, we gave a buff. Now let's get through a bunch of the nerfs. So heavy, just heavy slash, right? Bah, 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 shoot gun. It don't work the same way it worked before. One, you gotta be locked on before you can do it. You can see here I'm mashing heavy slash. No gunshots are possible until the lock on is in. And they kind of just changed how lock on works to begin with. Now it's just sort of based on time. And once the time is elapsed, then you're good to go. Since heavy slash is now gun pull, like quarter score slash is gone. It's just now heavy slash. That means you can't go jab, jab, shoot guns. That's gone. Also, hey, jump heavy slash, ain't no more gunshots either. It becomes this old toe tap. So when it comes to just random gunshots in neutral, that's gone. It's not to say you can't set up shop anymore, because you definitely can, but just random little conversions in the gunshots just don't work anymore. Also, with heavy slash now being gun lift, it also does not launch anywhere near as high. So you're basically not getting combos from this at all. Like, you just got a deal. Like, I'm talking about you just got a deal. When you jump and you have the gun up, the gun goes away now too. Like, There is no aspect of the old gun stuff that basically exists as you remember it. Now, there is some positive stuff for Happy Chaos, not for you. Since the gunshot's been changed so wildly, the basic gunshot now actually does appreciably more damage. It has like about a 20% damage buff per gunshot. So when he can shoot you, it will be doing more damage. And steady aim now has a new mechanic. So steady aim, you can now aim up or down. You can see those portals going. When those portals are going, you can shoot into it and it comes up the other end. So you can get a little silly. This basically gives him more traditional zoning, if you will. Because the portal, wherever it may be, will pop up above or below, depending on the other direction you shot it, on the enemy's direction. And then it'll be an actual projectile, as in there'll be actual travel time. It won't just automatically hit. So it's more traditional zoning, if you will. It's still only possible in steady aim, so your concentration bar is going to drain pretty quick, but it is another way for him to engage with zoning. So there's some other changes. One of them is reload. So you can still reload like the manual way, but one of the best ways to reload was to do a super, because the super would reload all the bullets for you automatically. Now, it don't. So you are left with whatever you were left with, and you gotta reload manual like. That's definitely a big nerf to the character. So more changes to Curse. So Curse has been changed up in that it makes your gunshots just do more damage. And it's appreciable. Like, damage already got buffed for gunshots to begin with. And if you can hit the opponent with a Curse up, each bullet's really gonna hurt. That said though, Curse is now blockable. It was unblockable before. Also, it no longer bounces. So when you do Curse, you actually just have to hit the enemy or you're not getting anything. It won't just bounce and then get the unblockable going in, right? So the move is pretty changed up. Clone. Clone does not last as long. In fact, it got cut in half. It used to be 180 frames, it's now 90 frames. So it cut exactly in half. Although, even though it usually did anyways, it'll now always for sure kind of remove the opponent's hitbox. So the clone can always for sure do it. It could do it a lot of time, but there was weird odd case scenarios. But anyways, so now it'll always for sure erase completely the opponent's hitbox. So it's mostly non-stop nerfs. Like crouch slash pokes a little bit better on block. Steady aim immediately got a pretty okay buff in the new shots, because like say if you aim upwards and it shoots downwards, that's a launcher. You know, like these can bounce you. Like they're not weak, especially if you do happen to have Curse up. These shots, like they hurt, especially that they might start combos in and of themselves. But overall, it's nerf, 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 nerf. So maybe he'll finally actually be weak. I don't know, man. We've been through this before. And this time they're just breaking the sledgehammer out to his knees, because this is like, we've had enough. But will it be enough? Come back in a couple of weeks. Baiken got some new fun stuff to play with, not the least of which is crouch slash now naturally combos into heavy slash, which just gives more fun stuff to play with, not the least of which is that crouch heavy slash now is also a hard knockdown. Before, they would just auto tech when they hit the ground. So now you have a new hard knockdown to play with. Okay, that's pretty cool. Other things, like they changed the attack level on crouch punch. It's basic crouch punch, right? Meaning it can now more reliably combo into forward and kick, the command normal, giving crouch punch a reason to exist, basically, to begin with. A change, well, two changes actually, have been made to heavy slash Kabari. So the move itself is faster. So 16 frame startup instead of 18 frame startup, meaning it can hit earlier in combos, which we'll get to in a second. But the follow-up, if you just leave it as it is, now is techable. Since it hits a little bit earlier than it used to before, though, it can stabilize new combo routings, and you can get new things you couldn't potentially get before. So that's kind of interesting. Honestly, for Baiken, go check out Lord Knight's channel. He lives and breathes the character. He'll probably know a lot more than I will about her. So sometimes in these crazy balance patch wars, innocent people get hurt. Testament, I don't know what they're thinking, but let's start with some positives. So Testament has the stain mechanic where you can kind of hit the opponent, you get the big purple buff on them, you pop them, stain explodes, does damage, potentially extends combos. That's great. And so what has changed is now you can apply Stain twice. So you can hit the opponent, get 2 Stain buffs on them, and if you hit them, it double detonates. Cool, great. I don't know who was asking for that, but you take it, right? But is it worth what you're about to give up? Well, let's talk about it. So we're giving up a lot here on certain things, like say Grave Reaper, the heavy slash version of Grave Reaper, right? So this is now negative on block. Used to be plus on block. So it used to be +2, is now -2. Weird choice. Unholy Diver, that's our bird pal, right? Used to be plus on block, and now, if you can get it to hit normally, it's now -12 on block. It's punishable. It used to be advantage on block, and now you get punished for it if you could have made the enemy block it normally. Weird. So more changes too. We talked about Grave Reaper heavy slash version, being less advantage on block to the point where it's not advantage on block. They also changed the recipe on how it launches people to the point where the classical like crouch like kick into sweep into combo no longer works. So like here we are in the live version of the game, and like I can try, but like you just cannot get there because they changed how the knockback works. So you lost it. It's not to say you can't do it in like other ways, other buttons, but crouch light into sweep into Grave Reaper is kind of the gold standard way to do it, and it's just gone. So to lose one of your most core bread and butter combos definitely ain't cool. Like technically Unholy Diver, the bird, right? Technically it's faster now. Used to be 21 frame startup and is now 16 frame startup. But that don't give me the combo, like even the Stain, we can apply double Stain now, but the launch from Stain, if only the regular Stain is applied, the launch also doesn't launch as high as it used to. Like, there's a lot of characters to complain about in this game. I never heard anyone crying about Testament of all things. Leo, Potemkin, Happy Chaos, sure. Almost every day, but Testament, no, everyone's cool with Testament. So Testament kind of getting randomly shot out of nowhere is a bit surprising, but the decisions are the decisions. Double Stain is cool, but in my opinion it is absolutely not worth losing everything else. Bridget, relatively small changes but fun ones. There is a bit of a nerf, so of course // that's the basic yo-yo toss. That is now more negative. So if you were to say block that point blank, that would now be -12 on block. Used to be -4. So hey, space it. But besides that, we got some fun stuff here, like say /follow-up. The knockback, right, now knocks up instead of knocking away. So you can now do things like easily land kickstart my heart after the fact, giving you more potential combo routings to work with. Okay, that's nice. That's not bad. And then there's the part where you do cortical back kick. So say if you have yo-yo up, you do that, you roll to your yo-yo. Sure. But you can now do it by itself. And this is making me realize Season 5, I think someone's been playing a lot of King of Fighters. Jam, Leo, like a lot of people are getting short hops now. Because yes, you are airborne and can do basically air attacks very low to the ground now. And being a special move, you can now just special cancel. Anything is special cancelable, you can go right into short hop into instant overheads. So that makes your offense's Bridget a lot more tricky, because you can get away with some outright nonsense if they're even mildly asleep at the wheel. Besides that, it's a lot of the same usual, like, universal changes. So it's good quality of life for Bridget, but like, just at minimum, just getting a free short hop and a new combo route, like, yo, that's pretty okay. So Sin's got some changes on him, one being the food. Food actually does something now. Like, it was basically useless before. So now there's a period when you can regain your stamina bars, right? So it just makes that period shorter before you can regain the energy. And it also makes your regen a little bit faster than it is before. So if you have a moment to breathe, there's actually a reason to maybe eat a little bit of food. So that's cool. Also cool, forward heavy slash, they like at least doubled the range of this move, making this actually a worthwhile move to do in neutral because it has a lot more range than your other stuff. You can go for it, right? Considering it's got a big boy counter hit attached to it with a big old launcher, like maybe go for it. Again, like from here, that would absolutely have whiffed before, and we can do it from a lot further away than that. So just getting basically almost a new button in neutral, that's pretty cool. Other good quality of life is just stand heavy slash. So stand heavy slash is only -1 on block now, and that's barely negative at all now, isn't it, right? So it used to be -2 is -1. That's not the biggest change in the world, but it literally just makes your life that much easier. I would say he's disproportionately affected by the universal changes. Go back and check the universal changes if you haven't already. But other than that, he's just a bit more solid, more used to eat food, new, very strong tool in neutral he basically didn't have before. Like the move existed, but it didn't reach half as far as it does now, right? So I think he's doing pretty okay. So Bedman. Bedman's always been a bit of a aerial monster, right? Because he has 8-way air dash. And with that, he did get some nerfs. So jump slash, specifically the hitbox, is toned down a little bit, especially because it had a vacuum effect, like it'll bring you into them. And jump dust, the big old stomp. So jump dust could be canceled into his 8-way air movement, and now no longer. So if you do jump dust, you basically have to commit to it. Now he recovers a little bit faster to help on block. That is to say, though, still not perfect on block. It can be -5, which is punishable or worse. But with the faster recovery, he can actually get follow-ups like crouch punch after the fact, which he could not before. So a little bit of a nerf, a little bit of a buff. So now he did get an interesting change in his error follow-up. So his various specials, it causes an error, and then later the error goes off. And it's different special to special, and you know, as part of the game plan, right? Like he does something, then you know something else is coming fairly shortly thereafter. And one of the things you can do is, if you so choose, you could detonate it early or hold it, right? And now, if you hold it, the move will become enhanced. Like the basic projectile is a shock, right? But now, if I hold it, now when it comes out, it'll be enhanced. It's a big old jet flame, and it'll launch the enemy. But same here, cortical forward slash. If I hold it, then it comes out later. Bigger explosion. Vertical forward heavy slash. If I hold it and then do it later, bigger bomb, right? So basically now there's more value to like holding the move, like delaying and activating. Because before there wasn't too much, but now you're getting an extra big boy version of the move. So that's great. The fact that now you can get better versions though means for delaying and then just automatically burning it, they do have a bit more recovery. They have about 10 or actually 11 more frames of recovery, but given that you can find a whole new use for the move to begin with, I think that's well worth it. That said, though, the super version of this, called 13C, is still not as good as that. But, you know, it's a super move. It should be better, right? It should be better. Also, cortical forward slash, just like Faust, the big spin move, like mix. You can now tap slash again to end the move early if you so wish. So much the same like situations of wall break. It won't now just break the wall if you don't want it to. So you just have a bit more control over your character, which I think is pretty okay. So not a lot of changes for Bedman, but interesting ones. Asuka R Kreutz, that man. So here's one. While I'm going to talk through this, I will heavily suggest you do refer to the patch notes that are in the video description, because there's a lot of little particulars here, like how his decks work, his test cases, and like what you draw from them, his decks, that's all sort of changed. The amount that are there, like it's all different. And almost every move costs more mana as it is. So it's just going to be more difficult to sling them spells. It's not all doom and gloom though. Like, hey, small change, good? Well, no, you tell me, but small change, forward heavy slash is now faster. Just like Axl. However, just like Axl, it's no longer an overhead. But if you can somehow start combos with this, then the combos will do more damage, as it does not prorate the damage as much. So there is that. Also, regardless of which deck you're in, down, punch, or kick now gives you a staff. So staff is now its own move. It is not affected by the deck. Like before, it'd be one of the cards in your deck. Now you just have it and it can just go. So obviously having these can really change how your various moves work, you know, because like gravity repellents, gravity launchers, like they all mess with it. And each staff, the two versions, kick and punch, are both different, are each exclusive to each deck. So basically make sure to play around with it just so you know where everything goes, because now that you can choose a staff on demand, it makes the various moves a good deal more powerful. That these modifiers, you can choose them whenever you want. So, you know, it costs mana to put out a staff, but the fact you don't got to burn a card on it, right? That can actually kind of change the flow of a match. Let alone the fact they're not random anymore. You choose. You got to be in the right deck. You got to have the right cards, right? So certain decks will give certain staffs, but once you're in it, like, that's it, that's all, right? You know what's going to happen next. You don't got to rely on RNG. Now, that said, since the staffs are much more controllable, the thing is about them that they're not out as long. So they used to be out for 600 frames. Now they're out for 300 frames. So basically the time they're out is cut in half, which fair enough, because they never used to be on demand before. Now, speaking about recovering that mana. So mana is very important, right? And they kind of got rid of a lot of ways to do it. So down slash, the classic way to get mana back, that's still there. But that's it. The one where you can consume your super meter, or the one where you can consume your health to get mana back, those are gone. There's only the one way to do it properly now. So you better enjoy it, because the other ways don't exist anymore. The idea is once, you know, he has the heart of the cards, it's kind of always his turn for a while. So they want it to have an ability to slow him down just a little bit in some way, some form. Now, again, as far as the decks go, as far as how many cards per deck, all that, as far as the mana costs that are being upped, please refer to the patch guide, because there's so many particulars. I could burn like half an hour on all that. It's all there. But that's basically effectively the gist of what's up with Asuka in Season 5 of Strive. So Johnny, another case of not a lot of changes, but interesting and fun changes. Crouch slash. Now has a bigger hitbox, can hit from just a little bit further away. Not a lot, but enough. Forward heavy slash, command normal, now knocks the opponent down and sends them flying. So basically you get this. It's pretty easy to hit confirm, like, oh, cool, I got it. Go into a super, get a follow-up, go from there, or just going like Mistfinder or whatever, send them flying full screen. Speaking of Mistfinder, so Mistfinder no longer gets counter hits. Like, it'll still counter, but it won't get the big counter. So basically the hit is the reward in and of itself, but you're not getting anything past that, considering they consider the move a little dominant. When it comes to his card tosses, the slash version now goes wildly farther than the other ones here, as in it goes literally full screen. Before, it would go roughly half the screen. It wouldn't quite go as far as, say, the kick version. Now it goes the furthest. So when you're looking to get cards set up for the bonus effect for Mistfinder, just keep it in mind now that you got a whole new range to play with slash version of the card toss. Isenga's cortical back heavy slash, this guy here. So it says it doubled the amount of active frames, so 3 to 6. And if you hit on the later half of the new active frames, it changes the knockback. Problem being, I don't know how to get it to hit on the later active frames. I've tried a bunch of scenarios so far, and it always hits within the first 3 frames, so I can't get it to hit on those later active frames right now. So I'm not exactly sure what that new knockback is, unfortunately. I'm sorry. Please help me in the comments. Other than that, that's about the basics. So a Mistfinder as a poke for just getting counter hit into too much damage. Toned down, but everything else, good quality of life. Now, Elphelt. Elphelt got not a new move, but expansion on one of her existing moves, the gunshot. So the gunshot, the cool thing about this is it's now holdable. So if you hold it, it becomes kind of different. At bare minimum, if you do up close, oh, 2 hits. 2 hits. You can see here, the heavy slash version will shoot all the way back and come back. So that means if you can get him stand still for the charged gunshot version, you're getting some serious plus frames, because you're ping-ponging them around big time. Like, basically, if they block the first shot and they really kind of messed up, because the second one's coming there and it's going to keep them on lockdown. Like the basic shot's just a basic shot, right? But up close, if you make them block the first one, they block it, and then the second one's still coming, which can lead to potentially some interesting mix-up scenarios because it can force into the Rekka. The Rekka, that's another great example here. So Rekka, the punch version, the overhead, is now a true block string. So before, if you knew the overhead was coming, you could do something invincible, you're out of the jail. Like, there's a gap there, you're done, you're out, you don't got to worry about it. And now, you can't. You literally gotta guess the mix. You gotta hold that as it were, right? So here, the opponent's gonna super right after they block, right? And I just go for Rekka, overhead, nothing. Various follow-ups in overhead, nothing. It's just basically, there's less of a gap to the point where there's no gap. And thus, you don't get blown up. Speaking of interesting changes, so Corsical back kick, the butt slam, is now universal in its block stun. So it's always -4 no matter how far or how close you do it. So that means it's always safe because now the fastest moves are 5 frames. And basically, you don't got to worry about spacing it as much. If it's blocked, you'll definitely lose your turn. But, you know, you don't got to worry about just the ins and outs of spacing. Also, back to the Rekkas, more good stuff. So slash follow-up to the Rekka here. This guy here. So they made it faster startup, so it'll just hit quicker. And also they added a stagger effect to it, which changes the frame advantage. So if this connects, you are now, well, much more advantage. Before the stagger effect was added, it was just +1 on hit. Like that was it. +1. Now it's +14. Which at minimum, just for the comedy of it, I guess, means you can combo into throw because it's a stagger. That means you can combo into throws, right? You can rarely combo into throws in this game, but you can here. So you're just looking to add a little zazz. That's a good way to do it. Although it can all be upside. So if you do nailed it, heavy slash during the Rekka, you'll get your big chunk of damage, but now they go back and they tech roll immediately. So pressure's over. That's it. That's all. So overall, I think Elphelt made out like a bandit, realistically. Like, just the new charge gunshot by itself is worth its weight in gold. Now, Abba. Abba's changes are like her relationship. A little bit of give and take. Let's put it that way. So, give. Hey, stand slash has like 25% more forward momentum. It now hits from round start. It definitely didn't before. It even hits from like a little further out than round start as well. So, like, significant range buff. Cool, right? Like, do your stuff. There's some of the take. Heavy slash now just like splats the enemy instead of leaving them standing, meaning going into like key into transformation into jealousy can be a bit more difficult because if you're not close enough, you're just gonna whiff because they just got bounced down and away from you. That's not very good. Something like jump heavy slash now is like almost twice as slow. So it used to be 16 frame startup and now is 24 frame startup. Like the little give here is it has some more active frames. So you can just, well, you kind of have to do almost like the beginning of your jump to actually connect. But yeah, it's way slower. Also, look at the jealousy gauge. So you start the round now with 25% of your gauge instead of half. So they are looking for scenarios where you go into jealousy and steamroll to definitely be lessened overall. And just heck, cortical back heavy slash, right? Just by itself. The move is slower now. So it used to be 12 frame startup. It's now 14 frame startup. It used to be plus on block. It's negative on block. Given the amount of pushback, it's not the biggest deal. But still, it used to be +2. It's now -2. And it's always better to be plus rather than the minus. Especially now that stand slash had such a range increase, which frankly might be the reason they did it. Because you can just start swinging back in right away. But still, that's definitely a nerf. Other things like changing and swaying. That's a half circle back punch where you manually enter the mode, right? So now say you just manually leave the mode, the amount you get refunded that you spend on your jealousy gauge is now half of what it used to be. It used to be 50%, it's now 25%. So like jealousy is still really good, but they want you to be in it a lot less. How about cortical forward kickle, stompy? So now it's just more negative. Used to be -2, now it's -4. So you're not paying, some dividends here. You're definitely losing your turn. That's the same, by the way, for Jealous Rage version, but... So, Jealous Rage version, as long as the opponents ground it, it actually bounces them a little higher than it did before. So there is something there. Like, there's a little bit of candy for you. So, my hot take on all this is definitely feel bad nerfs. But in the long run, it just means you can't be in jealousy as often. But a lot of the strengths of the character are still the strengths of the character. You just can't be in install state as long and as crazily. So make of it what you will. She's toned down, yes. But so is basically the entire cast. That's kind of how this is working across the board. So time will tell the tale. So keeping up with the changes, keeping up with the Joneses, Slayer. So Slayer forward heavy slash got a fundamental change in that the first half of the move and the second half of the move are different moves now. So the first half of the move basically is worthless now. They completely tanked the attack level. It's very not good on hit. It's -3 on hit. It is punishable on block, right? But now if you hit in the later frames, the part where the boot comes down, then all of a sudden it's a heavier hit. Now all of a sudden that's plus on block. Okay. So now we can attack from here. That's not just, map a hunch or whatever. And boom, big plus frames. And better yet, they changed the recovery of the move so you have less recovery frames. So since you recover earlier, that's +7 on hit now. It definitely wasn't before. What's 7 frames? Stand kick is 7 frames. So basically, as long as you space this correctly, you got a new combo starter. Isn't that cool? If it's blocked, okay, plus frames. If it connects, cool. Going to stand kick, you got to space it correctly though. Because you can see here, I'm just barely whiffing. So there's definitely a range you want to aim for. And if you're a bit too close, you hit the sour spot and you just lost your turn, or maybe even going to get punished if it got blocked, right? So just changing this move, this whole functionality, I think that's kind of cool, actually. Speaking of changing some functionalities, Map a Hunch Kick, the big one, is now -6 on block at point blank. So if you're going to spam this move, at least try to space it is basically the idea. So you'll be a little negative now later in the active frames. Because if you just do this stuff point blank, you're going to get blown up, which I think is perfectly fair. Now, going on the Dandy Step, Pile Bunker does a little bit less damage. That's fair. That's fair. Also, Bump Ahead, that's kick, the low, right? So this now launches a bit higher than it did before. So now you can get crouch kick without them just kind of rolling out on the ground. And from there, get more damage, get more combos. It just straight up launches the opponent higher than they used to be. Now, part of, let's keep things a little fair. So Dandy Step again, slash, the big old dunk. That got a lot slower. That's just slower. So used to be 13. I didn't realize it was 13 frames. It used to be 13 frame startup, is now 21 frame startup. This is the safe on block overhead out of Dandy Step. So a lot of overheads in the game have been toned down a bit in Season 5. So just sort of keeping up with the Joneses on that one. And finally, crouching heavy slash, big old stomp, right? So it states here they have removed some of the lower body invulnerability on it just to kind of keep it in line with the rest of the cast. But all in all, like, some of the brain dead stuff got nerfed. Like, you can't just map a hunch all day. But now new tools like forward heavy slash, beginning like reuse donkey kick or some nonsense, right? Just advantage on block, combo on hit. I think that's kind of okay. I think that's kind of cool. Dizzy, like Slayer, not tons of changes, but good changes. So one, far standing S just got so much better. Like, oh my god. So they reduced the knockback. It's a multi-hitting move, right? So they reduced the knockback on every hit but the last hit. And the thing is, it's substantial. So here, round start, I can get 3 of the hits from the absolute tip of the move, right? Hopefully I'm showing the older build right now. In the older build round start, you could get 1 hit. And you had to be pretty deep in to get all 3 hits, or rather at least 3 hits. And here at the same distance, you can get all 5 hits. Also, if you're running, she now keeps the momentum better. This is a pretty dominant poke. Like, this is a good strong neutral poke, right? And they just made this infinitely better and more reliable. And that is great. It's eminently hit confirmable because, so many hits, right? So one of the things you would get off it is Michael's Sword. So Michael's Sword, fairly enough. So now, when it hits, it's a tumble. So they just tech the second they hit the ground. and you don't have exactly as much frame advantage. So it's you can still set up shop. You still got the knockdown, but it's just not going to be as strong. But you know, hey, these big pokes lead to big rewards. Now, heavy version of Michael's sword. This is still a proper knockdown. There ain't no tech like the slash version. Also, they changed it on block. So now it's 0 on block with a guard break. So before it was just -10. So depending on spacing, you know, it does push back by quite a bit, but you could lose your turn at a minimum, right? So now, if you make them block this, it's a good amount of chip. Like, it's a lot of chip damage because it has the guard break associated with it. And now you're neutral, and all things equal, Dizzy should be winning neutral because she's got big buttons and a lot of screen control. Great. Now, speaking of big buttons, the Nerf, her sweep. So her sweep is one of the longest in the game by a lot. So you gotta space it now. So it has more recovery on whiff, has 6 more frames of recovery on whiff, and it's also 6 frames worse on block. It's now -16 on block. So it's still a giant dominant button. It's still a sweep. So, you know, you knock them down, you're going to have some fun with it. But yeah, so just taking the edge off it just a little bit. So now when it comes to cortical back punch or kick or little ice buddies, right? So you have now some control over where they spawn. It's not huge, but say like I do it here, right? It just spawns in front of you, like as you would expect. But now I can make it spawn a little bit in front or a little bit behind. So when you do the move, and this could be the punch or kick version, doesn't matter. When you're doing it, just hold slash or heavy slash, and it'll spawn the ice bit just that much further or back. Slash will put him a little bit behind, heavy slash will put him a little bit forward, or just have him spawn directly on you and touch nothing. I don't think it's going to be the world, but just getting it a little further ahead, if you want a little further ahead, or if you just wanted to like eat and control space, have it a little spawn behind you a little bit, just for better zoning, better screen control, the option is yours. And for moves like that, options are king, so that's a nice little change. Now, Venom. Some of the changes are interesting, because, like, okay, we're changing the ball, like, if you hit the ball with a move, like crouching heavy slash, right? We're changing it from 59 degrees to 50 degrees. What? I guess, right? Now, some are much more pronounced. Like, sweep now takes the pool ball and just launches it straight up versus kind of across. And, of course, we got some frame data changes. The crouching heavy slash we just mentioned here, 2 frames faster. So, used to be 17 frame startup, is now 15 on top of the new angle for the ball hit. Forward heavy slash, big change. So this is 3 frames faster. So 18 frames used to be 21, and this means it now combos naturally from close slash. It did not before. So at minimum, since it has a knockdown, right, you can set up some shenanigans. So play around with that. How about some more big changes? Jump Dust. So this like used to be a special move in older games, but whatever. Jump Dust here. It launches the opponent on the last hit now. And you better believe you can get some follow-ups. So another thing that's changed is QV. That's where he can just spawn the Q balls on top of the enemy, right? So the slightly charged version, where you just hold it just a little bit here, the button press, right? It now has its attack level raised, so it's better on block. Now normally, it'd be -7. If you hold it just a little bit, it's now 0. And actually, if you hold it a lot of bit, it now is a completely different explosion, and it's plus on block. So before, even the fully charged versions were negative on block. So now there's a lot more incentive to actually even bother going for it, because it'll always be your turn if it is blocked. Now it's the Nerf patch. People got to get some Nerfs. So his Nerfs are to the basic projectiles. So for him, basic Stinger Shot, kind of point blank would be -10. Used to be -2. Much the same here. The heavy slash version is going to be at least -21. Used to be -13. So basically, use them not to end block strings, but use them as the projectiles, you know, they're sort of meant to be, right? Besides that, he is a charge character, so he does benefit from the universal charge boost. So everything is 25 frames for charge, used to be 30, and so like this is that, down, up charge, like everything, right? So pretty interesting stuff all in all. Moving on to Unika, we're almost at the end. So she got a very interesting change. So she always had forward heavy slash, where she could like turbocharge the next special, right? And I guess not enough people used it. So now forward heavy slash is an attack. So you can use it to hit the enemy, and it'll count for like combos and stuff, and like and get you some pretty okay damage.
Like the one change here, just because it does okay damage, just you can go into an off close slash as well, right? So you can get some just outright silly damage basically, because this all works. It's just you do basic combos and then you get extra hits that do more damage, so why not? And just other things like her definitely not Greed Sever move when it's buffed, right? When you get the buff version, they can't tech anymore. It's like just an actual hard knockdown. So, okay, that's cool. There's also weapons free. That's their big fancy low health super. So basically they just made it faster. So it can combo off like 6p or something like that. And you can have more opportunities to get your cool big cinematic super. So that's kind of neat, I guess. I think Unika was already in a pretty decent spot. And then like they just gave her more damage off of this, especially in corner combos. So like, I don't know, you ain't gonna have to think too hard to get big damage. Now for Lucy. I think Lucy's changes are kind of fun, just at a minimum here. So slash, crouch slash. You know, she's using the whip, right? So now it acts like a whip. It brings you in. That's just good video game logic. Like, that's video game 101. And you got those follow-ups here, the target combos after stand slash, crouch slash, right? So those are delayable. Not by a lot, but they are delayable. So people looking to block the second hit of that, you know, if they're too scared to move for whatever reason, then you can bust out the big stuff, right? And just send them back. Because if they're passive, those are plus frames for you. So they really got to watch out and respect it. More fun stuff. Stand heavy slash doesn't knock down anymore. So you can leave the opponent standing, and for all the fun shenanigans a standing opponent can be brought in for. Not the least of which, just get easier standard combos. So like, that's something. More fun changes to Lucy is they changed how the resistance glitch works. So before, the resistance glitch from her super, like it shorted out your wrist gauge. You take more wrist damage, and you do, but now you also get guard crushed by all heavies, like stand heavy, crouch heavy, and forward and heavy. So the RAM usage is quite a bit higher, but now, you know, you're just that much more advantage every time. You can get plus frames on demand, basically. So that's really cool. Like something like forward heavy, right? Normally it's -9. You get them under the resistance glitch, and all of a sudden, oh, that's +5. Stand heavy, +6. For something that wasn't a more attractive option, this basically says, no, I get to bully you, right? So I think that's really, really cool. They also changed how pistol shot works. So no more wall bounces for combo ability, which sort of sucks. But if you actually get the gunshots off, right, they're all natural combo anyways, the third shot now knocks the opponent down. So that means you get free space on them, right? So there's actual reward besides the damage, because they have to fall down and tech backwards. So not as good for combos, but better for actual neutral. Also, it's much better on block. Even like, say, not that it would happen often, but point blank, right? It's only -3. And the further out you are, well, the better it's gonna get. And that's Lucy in a nutshell. Some of her changes, again, universal changes, check the earlier sections, but that's her in a nutshell. And that's the big Strive 2.0 patch. We went over everybody. There's a lot of specific changes. I know I say it a lot. Please check the general changes, because so many of the changes for everybody is affected by the general changes in terms of combo scaling or just how everything works. And if you did feel I missed something, by all means, post in the comments below so we can talk about it, because, you know, we're all trying to help each other. It's a big friggin' patch. As the patch guy, this is definitely the biggest one in a good long while. And I think it's, you know, I think some people will be a little sour that it's a lot of nerfs, but I think it's kind of nerfs where it makes the game less silly and more actually fun to play. And I think that's a good kind of patch. That said, if you got this far, please leave a like. It sincerely helps the video. And I guess that's about it. So, you know, we just had Jam launch. We'll have Robokai in the future. Who knows who else for Season 5. Guilty Gear has been going for years, and it's still going to be around for a good long while to come. So have some fun with it. That said, my friends, that's the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Guilty Gear.